good. It's just a vaccine, you guys. Don't be a jerk. It's for the greater good.
Go get a damn mask and put it on your face.
Mask on, fucking mask on. Mask on, fucking mask on.
Hello everyone, welcome to Sic Semper Tyrannis News. I'm your host, Mark Matheny. This is also We're Hit Television, and if you wonder why I call it Sic Semper Tyrannis News and We're Hit Television, again, it's because I have a couple channels, and currently, just some of my lighting here. Currently, basically, YouTube kicked me off of Sic Semper Tyrannis News until May because of their community guidelines, which is basically censorship, obviously. But today I want to talk a little bit about some information that has come out, and this is from Wall Street Journal. It was an opinion section talking about how there will be 7 states that could reach herd immunity by as early as April. I'll show you that article. This was in the Wall Street Journal by Marty Makary, and it states we'll have herd immunity by April. COVID cases have dropped 77% in 6 weeks, and experts should level with the public about the good news. So, how do you think the elites are going to be feeling about this news? Well, we're going to talk about that because we know that, essentially everything is riding on the fact that this coronavirus is hammering us, and so this is the need for the lockdown measures and all of these things, that the governors and the CDC and the World Health Organization and everybody is pushing. And from that, we know that they are utilizing that crisis as an opportunity to push what they're calling the Great Reset. So that scares the establishment. They do not want a return to normal. As a matter of fact, Fauci, on one of the reports, is showing that he is saying, we're never going to basically return to normal. We're going to have to continue to wear the masks and do all these things because there's not going to be a return to normal. And we'll talk about that. He talks about endless vaccines and basically is, falling victim to the Chinese government. So let's talk about this, though. There was Marty Makary, who was John Hopkins' surgeon, who penned this op-ed piece in Wall Street Journal saying that we will have herd immunity by April. And as soon as that happened, basically, people, it was disavowed as dangerous, as, dangerous science, awkward facts and science, of course, as being rejected by the mainstream media and the scientific community that is pushing the lockdowns and the vaccines and everything. Cumulatively and slowly, it says the U.S. is seeing more states reach that combined level of vaccinations plus infections approach what is seen as herd immunity. This is according to the op-ed piece. And I'll show you, this is the chart in the op-ed piece showing that South Dakota, North Dakota, Rhode Island, Arizona, Oklahoma, Utah, and Tennessee are all reaching near 60%. It says population infected or vaccinated. So they're saying that all of these states are basically reaching herd immunity status. Okay, so that's what this report is showing. Of course, this threatens the narrative that Fauci and them are doing, which would be, perpetuating everlasting, nonstop lockdowns and the taking of vaccines and so on. But Fundstrat, a guy named Tom Lee at Fundstrat, basically came out and stated that this information was dangerous. And his Lee's math, which basically, well, let me back up a little bit. Let me make sense of this. When you try to come out and you try to prove something that, like, hey, we're reaching herd immunity and stuff, many of the antagonists or the prognosticators of doom and gloom would say that it's racist. But Lee's math from Fundstrat's Tom Lee, it is fitting with Macary's arguments for why the recent plunge in cases, hospitalizations, and deaths is not policy related, it says, no matter how much the politicians and the media are pushing that narrative. They're saying basically it has nothing to do with the politics of the governors and them and the steps that they took. Here's what Tom Lee stated. The consistent and rapid decline in daily cases since January 8th can be explained only by natural immunity. Behavior didn't suddenly improve over the holidays. He says Americans traveled more over Christmas than they had since March, and vaccines also didn't explain the deep decline in January. Vaccination rates were low, and they take weeks to kick in. This is what they were saying according to the report. And so you can see this chart here that they're showing. But let's go on. So, and they're saying, too, in this op-ed piece at the Wall Street Journal, that experts should be telling people about this good news, exclaims Macri. And this data on imminent herd immunity puts more pressure on Fauci and Biden to come clean despite the variant fear-mongering and no return to normal until Christmas or beyond predictions, she said, or this Macri said. But also, Macri stated that basically the mainstream media and these talking heads for the CDC and for Fauci and them who are pushing this great reset basically are not going to allow for this to become a national narrative that the country's reaching herd immunity in at least 7 states now. It says, she went on to say, or Dr. Macri went on to say, some medical experts privately agreed with my prediction that there may be very little COVID-19 by April, but suggested that I do not talk publicly about herd immunity because people might become complacent and fail to take precautions, or they might decline the vaccine. But scientists shouldn't try to manipulate the public by hiding the truth. As we encourage everyone to get a vaccine, we also need to reopen schools and society to limit damage of closures and prolonged isolation. Contingency planning for an open economy by April can deliver hope to those in despair and to those who have made large personal sacrifices. So that's the report by Macri in the Wall Street Journal, stating that we could have herd immunity by then. But like you said, there are a lot of people who are trying to reject this notion, or at least be cautious of telling people that there could be herd immunity by as early as April. But this is good news. I wanted to break that news because nobody's really talking about it on any of the news that I've been seeing. Now, there was Dr. Anthony Fauci obviously talked on day 4 of meeting. He went to a Columbia University, and he hosted a 5-day vaccine symposium on Zoom that was only it was an invite only for colleagues in the field, but is now been publicly posted. And he talked on day 4. He spoke, and then was followed up by a representative from the Chinese Communist-backed CDC, basically. And here is a short video from InfoWars covering some of the meeting that Dr. Fauci had. Let's set that up.
Scientific.
Let's go to that. I won't play all of it, but I'll show you a little bit of that video conference by Dr. Fauci. Let's see if I can set that up. I'm sorry here, trying to do it, and I'm having a little hard time here. Here we
breakthrough
go.
of the year of 2020 was decided by Science Magazine to be the development of COVID-19 vaccines. Something happened that was really historic. Historic in its timing and in its impact is that from the time the sequence was made known on January 10th by the Chinese on a public database of this new novel coronavirus, that within 5 days, the vaccine development program began for one of them, but for several others. In this case, it was Moderna, 94 to 95% efficacy in the mRNA, both of which have been given an EUA. On the 26th, 1 day from now, the VRBPAC will meet the FDA Advisory Committee on data that Janssen has just released yesterday, namely the 72% efficacy in the United States, 85% efficacy overall, with a very good efficacy against advanced disease. And then there are other candidates here which at various times from now will have enough data in order to engender confidence and enthusiasm about getting vaccinated. Here is a picture of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris receiving their doses of vaccine. And in fact, at the NIH, Francis Collins on the left and I in the middle, and then Secretary Alex Azar receiving the vaccine in the NIH in Mazur Auditorium, again, to show the confidence in the safety and the efficacy. Clearly, there's been an issue with anaphylaxis. It still remains a rare occurrence. It occurs in individuals predominantly, but not exclusively, who have a history of anaphylactic reactions. A group has examined this
cut that off
during the period of time shown on this article.
But the point is, people, like the doctor wrote in the Wall Street Journal, it says, amid the dire COVID warnings, one crucial fact has been largely ignored. Cases are down 77% over the past 6 weeks. If a medication slashed cases by 77%, we'd call it a miracle pill. Why is the number of cases plummeting much faster than experts predicted? In large part because the natural immunity from prior infection is far more common than can be measured by testing. Testing has been capturing only from 10% to 25% of infections, depending on when during the pandemic someone got the virus. Applying a time-weighted case capture average of 1 in 6.5 to the cumulative 28 million confirmed cases would mean about 55% of Americans have natural immunity. And now add people getting vaccinated. It says as of this week, 15% of Americans have received the vaccine, and the figure is rising fast. Former Food and Drug Commissioner Scott Gottlieb estimates 250 million doses will have been delivered to some 150 million people by the end of March. There is reason to think the country is racing toward an extremely low level of infection. As more people have been infected, most of whom have mild or no symptoms, there are fewer Americans left to be infected. At the current trajectory, I expect COVID will be mostly gone by April, allowing Americans to resume normal life. Okay, So there you have it. This is why you're going to probably hear either no news from this, or you'll probably get a lot of backlash from this as well. But the article goes on to say, antibody studies almost certainly underestimate natural immunity. Antibody testing doesn't capture antigen-specific T cells, which develop memory once they are activated by the virus. Survivors of the 1918 Spanish flu were found in 2008, 90 years later, to have memory cells still able to produce neutralizing antibodies. And then it says, researchers at Sweden's Karolinska Institute found that the percentage of people mounting a T-cell response after mild or asymptomatic COVID-19 infection consistently exceeded the percentage with detectable antibodies. T-cell immunity was even present in people who were exposed to infected family members but never developed symptoms. A group of UK scientists in September pointed out that the medical community may be underappreciating the prevalence of immunity from activated T cells. So this is good news, people, but is it going to be reported in the mainstream media? It's hard to tell. It says COVID-19 deaths in the U.S. would also suggest much broader immunity than recognized. 1 in 600 Americans has died of COVID-19, which translates to a population fatality rate of about 0.15%. COVID-19 infection fatality rate is about 0.23%. These numbers indicate that roughly 2/3 of the U.S. population has had the infection. So pretty much it's almost gone through the whole population, people. So for people still walking around terrified with masks on and so on, it's kind of loony. And then the doctor goes on and says, in my own conversations with medical experts, I have noticed that they too often dismiss natural immunity, arguing that we don't have the data. The data certainly doesn't fit the classic randomized controlled trial model of the old guard medical establishment. There's no control group, but the observational data is compelling. And the doctor went on to state that for months, I have argued for months that we could save more American lives if those with prior COVID-19 infection forego vaccines until all vulnerable seniors get their first dose. Several studies demonstrate that natural immunity should protect those who had COVID-19 until more vaccines are available. Half of my friends in the medical community told me it's a good idea. The other half said there isn't enough data on natural immunity, despite the fact that reinfections have occurred in less than 1% of the people when they do occur, and then at that case, the cases are mild. It says, but the consistent and rapid decline in daily cases since January 8th can be explained only by natural immunity. Behavior didn't suddenly improve over the holidays. Americans traveled more over Christmas than they did since March, and vaccines also didn't explain the steep decline in January. Vaccination rates were low, and they take weeks to kick in. So, again, the doctor says that the doctor's prediction is that COVID-19 will be mostly gone by April based on laboratory data, mathematical data, published literature, and conversations with experts. So there you have it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the good Dr. Fauci and the CDC and the World Health Organization and United Nations and all the local governors and them say. We'll see if there's any mainstream news about this being reported, which I doubt. But you did hear it right here at We're Hit Television and Sic Semper Tyrannis News. And I will publish it at Rumble in case this video gets removed for now. Just hang in there, people. And remember to protect your own rights, because if you don't, no one else will. Thanks for watching.
It's just a mask, you guys. Don't be a jerk. It's for the greater good. It's just a vaccine, you guys. Don't be a jerk. It's for the greater good.
Go get a damn mask and put it on your face.
Mask on, fuck it.